Hey guys, Mike here. Got a fun video for you guys today. And in this video, I'm going to briefly go over what weapons I've used in Monster Hunter. So, kind of a brief overview of my career of different weapons that I used in Monster Hunter. So, let's get right into it. First of all, I think it's easier to start with the weapons that I've never used before or I have no experience. That would be all the ranged weapons. So bow, light bow gun, heavy bow gun. I have not used it. I think I tried. The reason I have a 2 here is because I just tried it out just because I was curious. But for all intents and purposes, I've never really used it at all. So ranged weapons, I haven't touched. I don't know anything about ranged weapons. Insect glaive, I have no clue how the insect glaive works. All I know is what people say on YouTube. That it's just about being in the air. That's all I know about it. Other than that, I know nothing about insect glaive. Gun lance, I don't know anything about gun lance. I've never touched gun lance ever. And the last 2 weapons I've never touched ever are hammer and hunting horn. Now, those are easy. But also, so now I'm going to go over the weapons I've actually used. And you can see I have the weapons here. But this is not a completely accurate representation of the weapons that I've used because this is just my PC file save. My Nintendo Switch save, I have much larger numbers than this, I would say. So the first weapon that I started with, I think, was Switch Axe. And Switch Axe, I didn't use that much. I used it in base rise. I got a feel for what it was. My take on Switch Axe was this weapon has like no defense, and because all I was using for the Switch Axe was the hyper armor switch wirebug skill, and I was just using that a lot. So I actually don't really know that much about Switch Axe like at a high level, but that was kind of the weapon I started with because I was still trying to find a weapon. So Switch Axe, it's kind of that was just my starter weapon. And then, naturally, I went to Charge Blade. So Charge Blade, I actually know quite a bit about Charge Blade. However, in Sunbreak, since I haven't touched it in Sunbreak, I don't know all the new additions that Charge Blade has added. And the reason it's so low is just because this is my PC save. But I have quite a few hunts logged for my Charge Blade on my Nintendo Switch save. And I like Charge Blade. Charge Blade was actually very fun. And when I actually started getting, I realized that Monster Hunter was a very complex game, and I started to have a lot of fun with Charge Blade. But I don't think I was that. I don't think I wouldn't consider myself good with Charge Blade. I actually kind of sucked with Charge Blade because I kept getting hit out of SAEDs, and I just wasn't understanding the combat that well. But I still like Charge Blade. Now, after Charge Blade and Switch Axe, I kind of felt I had to take a step back because like I said, I wasn't really understanding the combat in Monster Hunter. I felt like I wasn't being successful at a personal level with the combat. So I heard that Sword and Shield was good for beginners, and so I decided to pick up Sword and Shield and see what Sword and Shield was about. I actually have a lot of Sword and Shield hunts on my Nintendo Switch save, but Sword and Shield felt really good. It was very simple, and it was just a breath of fresh air going from Switch Axe and Charge Blade to Sword and Shield, which was much faster. And then it had access to KO and Metsu Shorigeki, like an instant counter. Sword and Shield felt really good. But my issue with Sword and Shield was once the monster started becoming bigger, I was like, this tiny blade can't hit shit. It's like I couldn't reach the monster's head, and I was just nibbling at the monster's legs, and it didn't. I felt like something was missing. So then, after Sword and Shield, I moved to Dual Blades, and Dual Blades, it was kind of the same as Sword and Shield, or at least how it felt to me. Definitely felt more aggressive. The fact that you didn't have access to KO was interesting to me, and the fact that you made builds around, or at least the sharpness management was kind of a big factor with dual blades. Dual blades is very fun. I actually like dual blades, and you can see I have quite a bit of hunts with dual blades. But after dual blades, I went to Lance, and Lance was when everything clicked for me, because I started to realize that the guard on Lance is super effective, and that's I made a really old video called the very first weapon that beginners should use, and that weapon was the Lance. So right here it says I have 69 hunts with Lance. That's actually not accurate. I have way more hunts on my Nintendo Switch saved with Lance. Um, I played through the game like at least I think twice with Lance, and it just felt so good to play as Lance, and it was such. It gave me a new perspective on Monster Hunter, because Lance had that limited movement, but had the access to the guard, so it was just so reliable, and it allowed me to get the timings down with the guard to see when the hitboxes of the monsters would hit me, as well as utilizing the counters, and then I started watching some expert players play with Lance, and I was really impressed with their videos. I was like, I think this might be my main weapon, and so I really like Lance, but after Lance, I decided to branch out a little bit, and I think that's when I went to Longsword, because I understood Longsword was a very counter-heavy weapon. I already kind of knew that, but since I used Lance to understand the timings for when the monsters hit you and the hitboxes that hit you, I decided to leverage that and see if I could try and pick up Longsword. And as you can see, I have quite a bit of hunts with Longsword. I actually played all of high rank with Longsword, and I think I'm okay at Longsword. I don't think I'm like I get the general idea of Longsword. I haven't played it in Sunbreak, but it's just a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very straightforward style of gameplay, in my opinion, where you're always trying to get into special sheath and counter the monster, and being disciplined to get into special sheath quick enough. And it was definitely fun getting the counters on the monster and the helm splitters and all that stuff. So, but Longsword just sometimes it just felt too stressful to play. I don't know what it is. Like the fact that you're relying so heavily on those counters is it's fun to play at times, but sometimes when you want to relax, it's just too stressful to play sometimes. So that's why I didn't like playing Longsword all the time. And then after that, I moved to Greatsword. And Greatsword, honestly, Greatsword, when I first tried it, felt like shit to play. I just didn't understand this weapon. But when I saw other players play Greatsword, I was like, they look so cool playing as Greatsword, and I realized there's something with this weapon that needs to be understood, or it's sort of like a mystery or an intrigue about the weapon that just got me hooked. And that was one factor, was the ability for other players to just look so cool playing it, and it showed their mastery at the game. So that's what really got me into Greatsword. And like I said in the beginning, when I first started Greatsword, I was not good at all. I just didn't. I was just getting hit out of attacks so often. But the journey of trying to understand the weapon is what kept me coming back to Greatsword. And that's why I still play it today. Like even today, I don't consider myself that good at Greatsword. I mean, maybe average, maybe slightly above average on a good day. But that's the reason I've stuck with Greatsword ever since, is because I just want to understand the combat better, and it revealed to me the depth that Monster Hunter combat has, and the interaction of the Greatsword moveset with the interaction of the monsters and how those two play together. And it's just an ongoing mystery for me to discover the secrets of the Greatsword. And I'm always interested in understanding the Greatsword to a higher degree, because I feel that if I understand Greatsword at a master level, then it will translate to other games, other action RPGs and other games that I'm interested in. Because Monster Hunter combat combined with the Greatsword combat is the most complex thing I've ever seen. And not only is it the most complex form of gameplay I've ever seen, it's the most addictive and interesting forms of gameplay. Because there's other games out there that are complex, but they're not, I wouldn't consider them fun. But just something about Monster Hunter combat is very addictive to me. And I think Greatsword is a big factor in that. So that's why I play as Greatsword. And that's also the focus of the channel. It's to understand, it's for me to understand and master Greatsword combat at its highest level. And like I said in other videos, I feel like Monster Hunter YouTube doesn't really cover this type of stuff. So I just felt like the videos that I make on my channel are the videos that I would want to watch. And that's the reason why I make them. So in summary, the weapons I probably have the most experience with would be Greatsword, Longsword, and Lance. And those are melee weapons. Like I said earlier, I have no clue what the range weapons do or what they're doing over there. I heard they're pretty overpowered, but I don't really care. And I'm just mainly interested in the in-your-face melee combat and understanding that combat to its highest degree and its highest level. So let me know in the comments what kind of weapons you've experienced in Monster Hunter. And anyways, that's pretty much it, and thanks for watching.